Our head guy who does most of the maintenance work on these cars, he's in his 80s now, so we're always looking for replacements. So if you have some spare time, like to volunteer, it doesn't matter if you're not living right in the area. I commute from Burlington for this, so it is a lot of fun, and it's something pretty special. And we train people to be conductors, engineers, whatever you need, and we can provide the training for you, because as I say, always looking for new blood. Just let them know in the station that you're interested. Riding on this Ridge of Earth again. This one that was put down here by the men in the 1850s. On the left-hand side, you just catch a glimpse of the cornfield down there. That used to be quite an orchard. It was all golden, delicious apples. All the apples were under contract to Heinz. They were turned into baby food. I understand now that Heinz is now importing their apples from overseas, which doesn't seem quite right, but I guess we're not growing apples here in this part anymore. Also, if we get up to the bridge here in a minute, I'll tell you a little bit about this. We're passing some signs here that have big W's on them. These are whistle posts. These are a quarter mile before every crossing. And until about 4 years ago, we had to start blowing the whistle at that W, no matter how fast or slow we happen to be going. The Transport Canada has finally realized that it is a little bit silly. So now, unless you're traveling 58 miles an hour, you can start blowing the whistle a little bit closer to the crossing. So we'll blow that as we get over the bridge here. We are coming up to our old bridge. I don't know about you, but when I'm 117 years old, I figure the less weight on my back, the better. So we'd appreciate it if you could take a little strain off of this old bridge by lifting your feet high off the floor of the coach as we go over.
Good idea.
You still have a little bit of... So I'll tell you when we're on there, okay, when it's time to lift those feet.
Actually, you can push the seat and it'll go faster.
Okay, we're just about to go over the bridge here, so keep those feet nice and high. And while we're here, you can look out to the whichever side you like, but on the right you'll see some barns. I'll tell you about those barns in a minute. It's got an interesting tale behind that.
Oh my gosh.
Lovely view out there. As we come off the bridge, you can put your feet down. Thanks for having your feet up there. It didn't squeak nearly as much as it usually does. Anyway, that bridge is actually a pretty tough old bridge. In 1990, it was hit by a tornado. Actually, the tornado destroyed the little hamlet of Frome just northwest of here. And it came down, and those barns you saw sitting there, they were wrecked too. The one farmer in there was thrown right out the door, right through the door. He was in the hospital for a while. And then that tornado aimed right for our bridge, bounced off the bridge, went back west again, and then headed south just to the west of this embankment that our tracks are on, a slight ridge our tracks are on right now. And I think we counted that night we're cutting more than 100 trees we had to cut to clear the line. And the tornado, as it came down, it was knocking down the trees, but then when it got to this little curve up here, it jumped over the tracks because it was low enough to get over it, so it seemed. Headed down to Port Stanley, destroyed the only car wash in Port Stanley. So it was kind of rough in Port, a lot of dirty cars for about 20 years, but things are looking brighter now. They do have a new car wash. Made a big difference. Also, we're looking for some historians to explore right in this area where the caboose is going over it right now. There's an old bridge buried under here. It was a stone bridge. It was built here probably when the line was built in 1853. We don't know why it's there. There's no creek. There's no roadway. We don't know why it was filled in, but just we happened upon it when we were working on the track one day and found these massive granite slabs that were part of the bridge. So anyone who has some old maps of this area, we'd love to see them. And on the right hand side, we used to call that our military field because it was full of colonels all summer long, but it looks like they switched over to beans this year.
Soybeans?
Soybeans.
And just a little bit off to the left here, you might see when you're driving out of town, London Port Stanley was one of 2 railways that came into Port Stanley. There was another railway called the London Lake Erie. London Lake Erie was an upstart interurban line. It was built early part of the 20th century, and to save money they just followed roads with their tracks, so they went down the middle of roads where they could, so they didn't have to buy land. And this line ran from downtown London, it went through Lambeth, made its way to St. Thomas, went right down the main street down Talbot Street in St. Thomas, and then came south on Ross Street, and then came cross country into Port Stanley. It wasn't a direct route, it was a slow route, and when London Port Stanley improved their operations in 1914, that spelled the end for the old L&LE. But you still see signs of it. If you're in Union and look across the pond in Union, the east end, there's a concrete bridge, and that was an L&LE bridge. Now we're coming to a spot we like to call Sulphur Spring Curve. Now I don't know if any of you have ever smelled a sulphur spring. You hide your uncooked eggs at Easter and you find them at Christmas. Well, that's about what a sulphur spring smells like. Anyway, years ago the trains would be coming back from Port Stanley. They'd have the windows wide open, you know, the car would stink of spilled mustard and ketchup and orangeade and suntan oil. Then they'd get to this curve and all the smell would change. So everyone would turn and look suspiciously at the person sitting beside them. So if you smell that smell again today, have a second look at the person beside you. They did cap that well in 1957. You should not be smelling that thing.
Rotten eggs. Rotten eggs.
Yeah, we're just coming into port. I think that line of trees you see standing there is the old London Lake Erie right away. During the Depression, they had a lot of people on relief. They put to work planting trees along the old London Lake Erie right away. So there's a pattern of trees. If you're going north on the old road into Union, you'll see a whole line of these trees, and that marks where the trains used to run on the London and Lake Erie. In our early days of our operation, we had a fellow would come in to help once in a while. He'd work for the London and Lake Erie. And in 1914, he quit the London and Lake Erie and went to work for the London and Port Stanley. So he had lots of stories about the line. And just keep an eye open for that deer coming up on the left-hand side. Wander out there.